Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, and restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life, and bring us all to be of one heart and mind within your holy church, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Good morning. I'm glad that you all are here, and we're going to conclude what's been a three-part series in having some conversations and reflections about and on the idea of what it means to belong, and specifically about what it means to belong to and to be part of this faith community of this St. Peter's Church. If you were here last week, you remember that I stole this theme, "Everything Belongs," from Father Richard Rohr, a Roman Catholic priest who has written a book using this title and who has talked a lot about what it means to belong. And one of the things that he says is that everything truly belongs. So as we have gone through, and as we're continuing to go through this season in which we are focusing on how it is that we can support the work and the ministry of our church, the theme of belonging was one that was chosen, so that we can not only think about how we give of our time and our money to St. Peter's, but how it is that we belong. How do we connect here, and hopefully how it is that we create an environment where others will want to belong and where others will want to connect in a meaningful way. So last week there were a few people who were willing to talk and give of themselves, and this week there are several more. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And then I have some questions for them, as I did last week, and obviously they'll have some responses. Just introduce yourself.
So I'm Tracy Scuddy. We've been in St. Louis for about 4 years now, and I guess that's it. Unless you need to know more.
No, if you, maybe just say a little bit about how long you've been here at St. Peter's.
So we've been here at St. Peter's for about 4 years also. And previous to that, I was from Alabama, and I grew up in a small Episcopal church, so I've been raised Episcopalian all my life.
Great, thank you.
My name is Rich Huck. I truly don't know how long I've been at St. Peter's. I arrived sometime during the Purdy regime and stayed. So it's probably been 15 years, something like that. So.
My name is Meredith Jones, and I've been coming to St. Peter's my entire life. So it goes way back.
Oh, man. I have not been coming to St. Peter's my entire life.
Well, I haven't either. I took many years off.
Good.
I'm back.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hi, my name is Claire O'Brien. I grew up in Kentucky and moved to St. Louis in 2009. I have been coming to St. Peter's for the last 5 years, so the end of 2018. It's been wonderful.
Well, at least I have a year on Claire. My name is Logan O'Connor. I married into St. Peter's, and I started coming here in 2017.
Logan, you can just keep the microphone, and I'll just ask you all to pass it down as you respond to things. So I just want to throw a few things out to hopefully help spark the conversation. Again, as we've been thinking about community and what it means to belong, one of the things that we know is that Abraham Maslow, who many of you may remember, and has created the hierarchy of Maslow's hierarchy of something, said that after shelter, food, and water, that belonging was one of the keys to the life of self-actualization. So after shelter, food, and water, that our need and our desire and our want to belong was one of the keys to life. And it's also been said that belonging is one of the most critical issues of our day. one of the things that we're dealing with and that in many ways that we're struggling with right now. The apparent and experienced division and separateness within ourselves and in meaningful relationships is contributing to some issues and some ongoing concern about our society and about our culture. Belonging and creating a sense and having a sense of community has been shown to improve motivation, health, and happiness. And then I want to just read something to you that comes from a little article called "Lessons in Belonging from a Church-Going Commitment Phobe." This is how belonging happens, not by waiting for permission or holding out for perfect conditions, not by cherry-picking people just like us or nitpicking people who don't get us. Belonging happens when we choose to give ourselves away, saying, "If you'll have me, I belong to you." I'd had it all wrong. Belonging didn't chiefly depend on whether a community accepted me, but whether I was able to offer myself to them. All right, distinguished panel. As I mentioned to those who were here last week, Brene Brown is someone that you all may be familiar with, and is someone who's written quite a bit about belonging and has talked quite a bit about belonging. I think her TED Talk is the second or third most watched TED Talk of all time. And in it, she talks about it's one centered around vulnerability, but she also talks about what it means to belong. And she says that true belonging is not something that you negotiate externally, but it's what you carry inside in your heart. It's finding the sacredness, she says, in being part of something. It's finding the sacredness in being part of something. So I want to ask you all, if you would, to just begin by sharing a little bit about what you have found in terms of the sacredness of being part of this community.
Guess I'll start. I will just say that I do not like to be alone. I've never enjoyed being alone, and when I am alone, I try to find other people to not be alone anymore and to hang out with, and it just I feel a lot more comfortable with company around me, and so I've always gone to church my whole life, and when Melissa said we're going to get married at St. Peter's, I thought, well, I better get to know what this Episcopal Church is all about, and I went and talked with Luke, and he really just welcomed me in. And the second I came to the church, I felt at home, I felt welcomed, and everybody said hello. You're new here, yada yada. Next thing you know, they were asking me to get involved. I'd never been asked to get involved at any other church before in my life. I grew up at a Catholic church, and I looked at the ushers and I'm like, that seems like a sacred position. Next thing you know, I'm getting asked to be an usher. I'm like, oh my gosh, what an honor. Little did I know I was getting tricked into a life sentence. But really, by signing up to be an usher and to do the breakfast crew with some of these folks in here, and it's just been a really great opportunity to get to know people and to really ingrain myself to be part of the church, and something that I've grown to really care about, and Bible study being another one. And anyway, so yeah, thank you all for your support and welcoming me to the church over these last however many years, and I guess that's it for me.
Yeah, my kind of journey began, I grew up in church. My parents were very active in the Presbyterian church. And then when I went to college and law school, I kind of stopped going. I kind of had a hiatus of going to church. I was more in the library and doing other things during that period of my life. But then when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I knew that I wanted to raise her in church. I wanted to kind of have an experience that I had growing up. My husband grew up Catholic, and like I said, I was Presbyterian, and so I started kind of looking at different churches here. And I came here one Sunday, and I was by myself. I was very pregnant, and just sat in the back, but just immediately felt like just a sense of belonging. Like this just clicks. And I look back now and like it's little things. Like I had an email, I think Monday, from Father Joseph Wallace Williams that was like, I saw you, thanks for coming. We're so excited to have you. And I was just like taken aback at how like my presence that day mattered. So I felt. And then I told my husband, you've got to come. And I feel like I can breathe easy here. I can't really describe it any other way, except it's just, you can just breathe easy. I get excited when I'm pulling up and I see the church, and sometimes I make, the left turn a little too quickly because I'm so excited to come and see everybody. So, yeah, like, going to you.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to, belonging, I had a similar experience as an acolyte master, dropping Charlotte off and saying, well, if you ever need any help, let me know. And I was immediately put to work, which was a great blessing because it enabled me to meet so many young kids that I still see and know and had a great relationship with. And the youth is obviously our future. And to the extent we can spend any time with them and help them and show them and be active in church, and that it's okay and all and what you get out of it, I got back so much more. And I had written down, it is in giving that we receive. And part of what we're talking about here today, obviously, is our campaign and the whole sense of belonging. But what do you receive when you give? And we've all given. We know what that is. But it's really a sense of you feel good about yourself, a feeling that you're being your better self. And then it was ironic because I wrote down ultimately then a sense of belonging. And so by, I was thinking the other day what really got me thinking about giving and participating at a higher level years ago. But when President Obama came out and said, well, you didn't build that or something, you didn't build your business. Well, I run my own business, my wife does, and we were sort of, yes, we did, but so that made me mad. But then I started thinking about it, and it's like, well, I didn't build myself. I didn't put myself here. Why am I here? Why am I so blessed? And it's because of God. And what does God ask us to do is to show our love, and we can give our time, our talent, or our treasure. And I think we have, and so then, I think where you spend your money shows where your interests are. And so by becoming more active and financially involved with the church, it helped me to become more involved. And I think we have a great opportunity now to build upon St. Peter's, the community that I've been a part of my entire life, that you guys have come into and seen what a great community we are, with David now here, a new rector, and the opportunity. There's so much enthusiasm for outreach. And so, when you give, we need money to keep the lights on, and that's sort of the boring part, but there's the outreach, and then ultimately what you'll get in return, and you'll get dividends much greater than anything you can imagine by participating and becoming part of the community and becoming involved and taking a leap of faith. So I encourage you to give generously and participate.
Thanks, Meredith. Well, when David asked me to participate in this, I think I told him that I kind of felt a little bit like Groucho Marx, because belonging really wasn't my goal, and that frankly I was a little skeptical about any organization that would be willing to have me. So, but he said, well, fine, you can say that, and I said, okay, well, I will probably. And so, but in any event, I washed up on the shore here because I had some issues with the church I was attending, and they're not important to talk about. But and I wasn't looking to belong anywhere, but I was more looking for, call it sheltered from my own internal storm. But again, I really wasn't looking to belong. And I'm kind of a lone wolf anyway when it comes to my relationships and things, but somehow that's changed. In any event, my first Sunday here, I was I think Mark Pye said he was trying to fly under the radar, but that's exactly what I was trying to do. And unfortunately, I turned around and Tim and Dee Dee Nelker were sitting right behind me, and so I think Tim was there. I know Dee Dee was. And, she said, oh, come downstairs and have coffee afterward. And so I did. And I guess one thing led to another. And coffee hour was usually about a half a dozen people drinking coffee and eating some, baked pastries or something. And so it was not like breakfast is now. So I showed up, I started meeting people. I found out that that some of them knew me or knew of me, and we started to become friends. In particular, Bill Aiken was one of my usual coffee hour friends. And, before I knew it, I was kind of like Logan, being an usher, and then Jim Purdy asked me to be on the vestry, and then 2 weeks later promptly, said he was going to retire, and so I ended up kind of wading into that interim experience, which wasn't all that bad, actually. I learned a lot. But so I've probably dipped my toe into just about everything you can do around here. I've cooked breakfast. I've been on the vestry. I'm coming back onto the vestry against my better judgment, probably. But I'm looking forward to it. And so I have truly grown to love this place and the people. And I'm not so much of a lone wolf when I enter the doors of this church. So that's probably an improvement. So.
So my husband was prior military, so we've moved all over the place, and we've always had that kind of backup. So I've always had a place where I felt like we belonged. Moving here was a little difficult because there is no military base. So it's been a little harder for us to feel like we belong. And then, of course, the years of COVID when the church was shut down. So I'm hoping that is going to change, especially being on the vestry will get us more involved. And that was a very good thing. And so Miss Ann Babington is the reason that we are here and that we started to feel like we belong. But it's been a little bit harder because we've never been to the Midwest. We don't have any friends. We don't have any family when we moved here. So it's been a little harder, but it's starting to get better.
Great. So some of you may have touched on this a little bit, but Brene Brown also talks about how that belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something that's larger than us. That's bigger and more than we are, and that so many of us long to be part of something that's real. So, can you say a little bit about how you have experienced, that sense of being part of something that's bigger than you are here?
Well, I might have to pass that down.
Okay, you can if you need to think and pass it on, that's okay.
Well, I've certainly become part of something that's bigger than what I am. I didn't necessarily do it intentionally either. I just got sucked into it, and I didn't have any choice in a lot of ways. But I'm sure glad that I did. I have made lots of friends. I feel very much at home here. My daughter was married here. My son is buried here. It's just been kind of an explosion of relationships over the years, and I like to think that I have, at least I haven't ruined anything yet, and that maybe I've helped move the ball down the field a little bit, but made lots of friends and met some very wise, wonderful people.
When I was on the vestry, we were always talking about money and the need for more, et cetera. And I would always say, well, why don't we cut the budget of the choir? And now that I've come here more and more, it's like, no, we're not cutting the budget of the choir. I come where I get a sense and a desire to come, just like you're turning in quickly. It's all of a sudden, I look forward to coming to church. I look forward to that recharging. And when I don't get it, I miss it. And we are so blessed to have such a beautiful space with so much light coming in, and then the music, which is, if we've been to any other churches, nothing compares to our choir. And so it's just a great place for a renewal, and then to meet people and interact with them. So.
Yeah, so I think in terms of belonging to something bigger than me, I very much feel like I'm on my faith is a journey, and I'm always trying to figure it out and ask questions, and I sometimes feel like I don't have all the answers, or I know I don't have all the answers, and then I'll remind myself that's okay, and that's why I keep coming, because I feel like this building gives me the people here kind of give me the space to learn and grow, and just talking to people that I meet at coffee hour, or just hearing their own life experiences and stories kind of helps add to the mosaic that I'm building to try to figure out faith, but figure out such a great mystery, and I feel comfortable here doing that. Also, I would say, yeah, like I feel like I'm part of something bigger with seeing my daughters too. Like Cece still talks about St. Nicholas Day, and she's like, Mom, St. Nicholas is invisible, but he's here. And just learning what she's learning, like getting things, I'm just like, it helps. I don't know, I feel like I learn something new every Sunday, every time I'm in this building, and that is how I feel like I'm belonging to something that's bigger than myself, so.
Well, like Claire, I have a young daughter, 2.5-year-old Dottie, who you might have seen back when she was a baby at the 8 a.m. service. Now she's mostly attending the 10:30 after announcements after the nursery. But something like powerful, bigger than myself. When I was a little kid, my brother and I had bunk beds, and my dad and my brother and I would pray 3 prayers next to the bunk beds every night. And I just thought, when I had Dottie, I was like, man, I need to teach her how to pray and pray with her. And we've been saying the Our Father every night before we go to bed, and she never says it with us, or sometimes interrupts us or whatnot. We just go through the prayer anyway. And the other night she was at my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house, and apparently she just said the Our Father from start to finish. And one day in church here one morning, because at home we say Amen after we say the Our Father, and in church here, at least in the 10:30, you say the Our Father, and then there's like a moment of silence almost, and Dottie just shouted Amen. And it just really warmed my heart, and seeing her kneeling and praying and folding her hands, and we did the, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but like, here's a church, here's a steeple, look inside, and there's all the people, and just all the stuff that I did as a kid, and I'm seeing her do it, and it's important to us, and it's just something that we can pass along, and it really, This is going to be here. This was here a long time before I was around, and it'll be here a long time after we're around. And I just think that that's really special. So,
Tracy, yeah.
So something greater than myself. I would say also being a mom, having our only son and raising him in the church as I was raised, and having him baptized in the Episcopal Church, and he was confirmed here, so I definitely say that. Also staying in the church, and I love all the food pantry once a month. We love doing that. I go to Walmart and just stock up. I mean, people probably think like we have this huge family, because I love doing that, and that's something that we've never had before with another church. So that definitely gives me a really good feeling of doing something greater.
Great, thank you. So Richard Rohr talks about how one of the ways to increase our sense of belonging is to look for similarities, the ways in which we're similar to others rather than focus on differences. And in this time of when it feels like there's a lot of divisiveness and we're polarized in lots of ways, how have you had some sense of being able to look for the things that you agree with people on, and how have your similarities helped you not focus on differences here?
Well, of course, that always comes back to here. I have not really, I mean, I don't know any other church that I could feel comfortable in, because this is all that I've known. So that's obviously why I've always gravitated toward an Episcopal church. Everywhere we've lived, and when we were in California, we belonged to Episcopal church there. When we were in Virginia, we belonged to Episcopal church there. So that is definitely where I feel comfortable and how I feel like I can belong no matter where we are, is because that's the one thing I know, that my beliefs are the same as the people who are there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most of the people that I see when I look around here are a whole lot better than I am, and in that way they're sort of dissimilar. But you're good role models. Thank you. And God knows I need one, or two, or three. But I feel a real collegiality, if that's the right word for it, among my fellow parishioners here at St. Peter's, that I kind of feel like we're all rowing in the same direction, and that's very satisfying for me. And so in a way, I sort of celebrate the fact that I'm surrounded by people who are not nearly as bad as I am, and inspire me to perhaps live my life a little bit better. So I think that maybe partially answers the question, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I was very pleasantly surprised and stunned by the immediacy and the number of people who got involved, and it was initially on Zoom because of COVID. And that was new and different. But in the aftermath of the George Floyd killing, and how many people are interested in our community, in our church, about discussing and getting involved with the whole issue of racism, and how we can try to make a difference and do something to help with that. And so we are all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, and that's why I think there's such a great opportunity in front of us today. It's as great as it's ever been to look for new opportunities. We're creating new opportunities for outreach, for community, to build upon that and get to know each other and try to help other people, which is what we're really all looking for. So.
Yes, I'll just echo what has been said, but I think that everyone's here because we're all trying to be this self-actualization, right? Trying to get better, trying to be better as humans during our time here. So I think that is a commonality. But I feel like, I'll be cooking breakfast, or somebody may have a different perspective on some topic than I've had, and I thought, well, I never thought about it that way. And so it goes back to, I guess, my previous answer of learning, like, from others around me, and thinking, like, this person has years on me, so that may have influenced, this person has, life experiences, or has lived in a different area, or and so I feel like it goes to embracing differences and learning from different perspectives that people in the church bring.
Well, when I was a kid, I fought going to church, and I went to Oak Hill and went to Mass at Annunziata every Sunday, and I'm like, I'm going to Mass twice a week. Why, Dad, you haven't gone to Mass. Why don't you just go to Mass by yourself on Sunday? And I just didn't get it, and it took me I had to mature a little bit and figure some things out to really appreciate it, and really I had to open myself up to what I was doing and what I was committing myself and my time to and my family, and Bible study helped tremendously. I'd never gone to a Bible study before I came to this church, and there's several faces in this room that have gone, and there's just so much I didn't know about, and so much I fought off learning, and we're all kind of seeking the same thing and the same answers, and learning to behave and follow the Bible, and I don't know. So I guess the commonality for me is just the appreciation that we're all kind of here for the same thing, and yeah.
Okay. One more for you. Brene Brown also talks about how true belonging doesn't require that you change and it becomes something that you're not, but it requires you to be who you are. And so in what ways have you experienced being able to be who you are here in this community?
Well, I guess who I am is really somebody that just, like I said in the very beginning, I like to be around people. I like to be social. I like to talk and meet and make new friends, and learn about other people, and just learning in general. Like Claire said, I love learning something new, whether that be about you all, or about religion, or Jesus, or whatnot. Yeah, I guess that's it for me.
I would say twofold. So I'm challenged here. I feel like I'm growing as a person, but I also feel like I can breathe easy. Like I said from the beginning too, I can breathe easy. I can bring my authentic self. I feel like I have the space to be myself here, and yeah, that's it.
Great. For me, I think Christianity is when you begin to understand it, and I'll second Logan's comment about Bible study. We've been doing it together, and then there's an online group that started with COVID, and it's really the only book you need. I love books, and I have tons of books, but everything's there. And what's interesting about it is as you age, it resonates in different ways, and things that you didn't understand, all of a sudden you do understand. But to me, I would say, so Christianity is all about joy. And this is a place where you can come and be joyous. And I'm generally a very happy person. And the world around us is what it is. But Christians, it's our obligation to show joy and to be happy and to try to help other people. And this is a community where we can do that. And so by coming together and being with like-minded people, I feel like I'm finding my true self, not out somewhere else. So.
Well, I think that fundamentally, I like to help people. And I like to try to make things better in one way or another, at least as I see it. And St. Peter's has given me a whole panoply of opportunities to try to do that. And I think it's just, I like, and my fundamental self wants to help people. And we can do that here.
So I don't think that, I feel like I'm too old to change, so I don't think that I could change. I wouldn't feel comfortable if I had to change to belong somewhere. I don't, we did try, we've tried churches all over, and you always go to gravitate to where you feel comfortable, where, I mean, I couldn't imagine changing for something else to feel belong, because that wouldn't be my true self. So, yeah, I couldn't imagine having to change to belong somewhere. That's where you want to be, is where you feel like you can be yourself and people accept you.
Great. Thank you all very much. Very grateful for your time and your willingness to share your thoughts. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a few things before we break up. If you've not yet had a chance to purchase tickets and plan to be here for Shrove Tuesday, I hope you'll do that. There's a table set up right behind you. Tracy referenced the food, our support of the Trinity Food Ministry and the food pantry. There was a plea a couple of weeks ago because they were in some significant need, and I was told last week that our church, we took 145 bags last week down to Trinity Food Pantry. So that's just remarkable. So I got, not only did Bill Gilbert, who he and his brother Jim collect all that, as many of you know, but the deacon, Barbie Click, who's in charge of that ministry, emailed me to say thank you for what St. Peter's did. So I thought that was wonderful. And I just want to put a plug in for next week. If you're going to be watching a football game later today, you may have heard or seen that there are going to be at least 2, maybe 3 commercials about Jesus. And so when I saw that and began to do some reading about it this week, I'm kind of intrigued by that. And I think we all know that Super Bowl commercials are a big deal. So next week in this setting, we're going to watch at least some of those and then talk a little bit about them and about, I don't really even know the who, what, when, where of them all yet, but I just know that they're going to be part of the Super Bowl today. Thanks for being here this morning. God bless you.